Hello and welcome, I'm Eyes of Apollo and I'm showing you the PC version of RiMS Racing made by RaceWord Studios. RaceWord Studios is an Italian game developer of around 50 or so people according to their LinkedIn, so I'll continue to emphasize that this is a small studio compared to other racing video game studios. It's also their first game. It uses the KT engine. Some may know of this engine from games such as Isle of Man TT 1 and 2, the WRC World Championship Series, and the upcoming Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown game. I was lucky enough to get a review copy, so I have around 15 hours of gameplay on my belt right now. As I make this review, I'm about 30 events out of 70 of the main career mode. Getting a review copy will not sway my review of the game. I planned on purchasing this day one anyways, but I appreciate getting the opportunity to play it early. To those following the game, they did have a trial/demo on Steam back in June. I can tell you they greatly improved. Before we get into the review, I'd just like to say that RiMS Racing doesn't come out until August 19th for Europe and then the 24th of August for North America. This will be a very in-depth look of the game, so sit back while I show you everything and give you my opinions on certain aspects of the game. We'll start with the multiplayer modes and RiMS card before hopping into single player and career mode. Before we hop into career mode, I'm going to quickly go through the multiplayer. Multiplayer consists of online challenges, online custom events or open lobbies, and then offline duels for 2 players, aka split screen. Online challenges are a set of challenges that go from 1 day up to a whole month. You compete against other players with best times. Each event is different and have different restrictions, such as specific bike being in certain conditions. Best time wins. By completing these, you get fame, which is basically your online rank. Online custom events are just lobbies such as single race or cup events you create and people join. They also include public lobbies to search for specific races that are going on. Offline duel, as I said earlier, is just split screen for local play, which is a good feature and I'm glad it's coming back into most racing games. Now let's get into some single player mode. You have career, single race, private testing, academy, and racing tutorial. Racing tutorial is self-explanatory and you'll do this automatically in the beginning anyways. Academy is pretty much just learning how to ride better in career mode. There will be Academy events that have specific objectives for part of the race. Example, don't crash more than 3 times, and boy is it a lot harder than it sounds because you will fall a lot in this game. Cross the finish line better than 5th place, and they have a lean angle of at least 50 degrees for 3 turns. You can't do these on their own until you at least get bronze in the event in career mode. Then you can redo them underneath Academy for single player. Next up is private testing, aka time trials with online leaderboards. Single race is, well, just that. It's a single race event you set up. Most racing games would call this quick race. Choose your bike, track, conditions, rules, and get into the race and hone your skills on the track. While we're here in single race, let's just check out the track list for RiMS. There are 9 official tracks for RiMS Racing. I'll just go down the line here. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Circuit Paul Ricard, Circuit Zolder, Fuji Speedway, Monsanto Circuit, which was actually recreated by RaceWord Studios, since it doesn't exist anymore, Nürburgring GP Track, Silverstone Circuit, Suzuka Circuit, and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. There are also 5 road courses, each with reverse layouts. You have the Atlantic Road based in Norway, Carretera de Sa Calbra in Spain. To those who are Spanish, I'm very sorry if I slaughter that pronunciation. Great Victoria Desert Road in Australia, Million Dollar Highway in the United States, and then Passo San Marco in Italy. Now let's get into the good stuff. Career mode. Career mode will start you out with a bike of your choice, and there are only 8 bikes in the game, so choose wisely for your first bike. The only way to get a new bike is by finishing manufacturer events during the career, which you have to finish 4 to get the bike at the end. Let's just check out bikes right now since we're here. There are only 8, which I'm going to say it again. It's a small studio, so they probably came out of a ton of them. But the game is definitely towards sim than arcade, so I guess the best phrase to say is quality over quantity. That comes to mind. Each bike definitely feels different, which I really enjoy, and they are very detailed. I started with the Aprilia RSV4, which is one of my favorite bikes. I use that pretty much all the time in any other racing games, such as like Ride, Drive Club, you name it. But then I did a manufacturer event and had to drive the MV Agusta F4, and I gotta say I enjoyed driving that way more than the F4. But here's the list of bikes. There are 8 bikes. The 8 bikes are Aprilia RSV4, BMW M10, 100, Ducati's Panigale, Honda CBR 1000RR, Kawasaki Ninja ZX, MV Agusta F4, Suzuki GSX, and finally the Yamaha YZF. So in career mode, the main place you will start is the garage. We'll go upstairs first. Second story of the garage has two things up here. You have management, which have perks for you. Perks consist of large inventory for parts, random discounts on parts, and increase in credit payout for career events. You can purchase these with team tokens, and you earn these team tokens by completing career events. Next up is lodging. Lodging is where your character customization is. It's not very in-depth, to be honest. You get a body type of 1 or 2, which 1 being male, 2 being female. You get riding lean styles and rider equipment, and be aware that this is going to be in the sim route, so damage is brutal, so your rider's equipment can wear and tear, which you will fall off a lot in this game, so I suggest you check this out every now and then. Here you can change helmets and gear. It's a small preview, but this is what they have. Let's head back down on the ground floor of the garage. We'll hit up the research here. Just like management is a list of perks, this time having to do with information like weather reports for career events, information on your bike parts, and again, to unlock these, you have to use team tokens. I haven't used much of this, but it's a nice extra for in-depth feel for the game. Let's check out the motorbike stand before we head to the calendar. Motorbike stand has 4 parts: workshop, change motorbike, motorbike tuning, and engineering. Let's just start from the bottom to the top. Engineering is the final skill tree in this tour of the garage, and please do not forget it. These perks I think are pretty important. I wish I read them earlier, because this helps with fall damage and component wear, such as like 10% less damage when you fall. And I will emphasize this, that there's quite the learning curve, and I'll say it again, but you will be falling a lot in this game. I think on my RiMS card, it says I've fallen about 170 times, and I'm about 30 events in out of 70. Another thing that you can get with engineering is you can do fast mounting your components, which I think is very useful, but we'll get into the mounting components in a little bit. The next up is change motorbike. This is actually where you get to hop in a rally car and tear up the countryside. I'm just messing with you. It's pretty self-explanatory. You change your motorbikes here. Now the good stuff, the workshop. The workshop has 2 parts: motorbike mechanic, inventory/shop. Inventory and shop is where you can buy parts, and I'll mention different liveries for bikes because there are many, and they kind of hide it in here. So there are different colors you can actually slap on your bike later on. Now, motorbike mechanics. The meat of this game. Here is what I can only think of as the most over-the-top breakdown of a motorcycle in any game. This is basically a side minigame I didn't even know about. This is pretty much Motorbike Mechanic Simulator. Here you literally unscrew parts and fit them with specific prompts on the screen. Each part that you can see on the list to my right here can and will get damaged or wear, and you get to take apart the bike to get to that specific part, at least until you unlock a perk that makes it less prompts to change it. Raceward outdid themselves with these parts, people. They went so far as to ask for CAD files from part manufacturers that are present in the game's shop, so they are perfect copies. Each part has different brands and can be more or less expensive, depending on what bonuses you want to add to it. Example, different tires have different durability compounds, so some last longer than others. This feature of taking apart the bike might be one of my favorite parts of the game. You get to be one with your bike. I also look at it as a good point to keep yourself on your bike, because boy oh boy, it will take a while to fix all the worn and broken parts when you wreck a few times on a track, which I will continue to bring up. You will fall off a lot. There's a learning curve to this game, to be honest. At least that's how I feel. Now for the final part before we hop into more detailed gameplay, here we have the calendar. This is where you see all your events. There are 70 total events. These events include Academy events, which are just races helping you become better at the race by giving you objectives like I explained earlier. Brand events, this is where you can earn parts and get discounts on parts for whichever brand you choose. You usually only get 2 brands to choose from each event. Manufacturers, where you can earn a new bike by completing 4 races. Next is cup events, where this is where you can have 5 races total, and then there's points in a standings. The next is face-off events, where you are one-on-one with an AI driver. And final is RiMS World Championship event, which is 7 racing consisting of points and standings, just like the cup events. So now we have all that covered, let's hop into some actual gameplay. My thoughts on gameplay lean more towards sim racing and not like the floaty feeling of the Ride series or the super sensitive leaning of Isle of Man TT games. Here I think we have the perfect setup for our motorbike game. It is a pretty decent learning curve in the beginning, so you will crash and fall a lot, but my best advice is to switch off traction control altogether so that you can lean a bit faster and make last minute adjustments. With traction control on, it won't let you get the perfect lean because, well, with it on, the game is trying to help you stay up. I suggest getting anti-wheelie to 2 and also engine braking to 2. They're just my suggestions to start out to make things a little bit easier. AI on 100% difficulty isn't actually that tough once you get a hang of things. This game really just has you being your own worst enemy by falling or going too slow. I do enjoy the fact that they mess up and crash as well during races. Makes them feel less robotic. I feel like racing games need to make that a thing. Not everyone is perfect, and not every race is going to have every competitor finish. I think in like F1 2020, I had a whole career season with not a single damn DNF or major crash that I wasn't involved in. Like most motorbike games, running into AI knocks them over pretty easily, but the same goes for them running into you. I found myself braking so hard or too early and sometimes just getting ran over, but that's all on me. Overall, I figured out how the controls and how to use my throttle made it for a fantastic time. There isn't much in the settings for adjusting these things, but they do give you a lot of adjustments in the bike tuning section. One of the main issues you will have when learning to ride in this game is 1. Learn to throttle correctly and feather that thing very lightly. 2. Learn how to take a turn correctly. My suggestion is going to be pretty obvious, but when you go into a turn, make sure you aren't scraping too much. There's also a lean degree icon to show you how much you are leaning on the UI in the bottom right corner. Once you master the throttle and leaning, you will do a fantastic job. And then on to the braking. This I had an issue with in the demo back in June because sometimes you would have to use the brake way in advance for turns. I get it that they were trying to be realistic with weight distribution and stopping, but sheesh was it rough. But hey, they fixed it and it's much less difficult. Well, it's either that or I got better at braking. My other suggestion for gameplay is to figure out what sensitivity you want for your vibration of your controller. I used a PlayStation 5 controller and I can tell you the feeling of vibrations in the controller definitely helps to feel if you're losing traction or taking a turn way too fast. An innovative feature that they added into the game is the Motorbike Status Check. This is where you can freeze the gameplay and check out the components of your bike. See what has wear and tear, like say your brakes are wearing down, you can see in real time the percentage at which they are at. So maybe brake a bit slower and less rough. With over 500 components in the game to put on your bike, this is a great feature because you can start seeing which brands you like best for specific parts on your bike. There's also a photo mode. It's pretty basic for photo modes compared nowadays for video games, but it's also a very nice feature that I always enjoy that they add to motorsport games. Overall, RiMS Studios set out to be a new motorbike racing game, and I believe they did a great job for their first entry. It's a very small studio, so I will say that they can't do too much. Many comments I've seen on videos are saying graphics aren't that great. I'm using a 2060 for this review, so graphics may look better on other reviews compared to this one. With 50 or so people working on this game, the graphics will not be stunning, and also this is their first outing. I was thrilled to hear that there is a new motorbike game was coming out, because I feel like Ride series definitely populated the genre of racing. The overall gameplay is fun, and it being difficult makes it for a good time. The physics engine is fantastic, and I think they hit the ball out of the park with it. It feels very nice, not too restricting like some other games. A final closing statement is I think that people are hung up on graphics too much nowadays. Where I believe this game excels is the physics engine. You really get the feel of the bike and track more so than I think maybe with Rider the MotoGP series. Overall, it's a hell of a good time and I think you should check it out. I'll leave you all some extra gameplay footage and I'll see you guys around. Thanks for checking out my video.